This is the story of the rise of an automotive tycoon, Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of Nissan, a Japanese conspiracy against that tycoon, which turned into one of the most hostile of hostile takeovers in history, to where the CEO of Nissan is now a wanted fugitive.
The ousted chairman of Nissan has fled Japan, where he was awaiting trial on financial misconduct charges.
Now he's in Lebanon. He reportedly got there in a musical instrument case. I am not making this up.
Meanwhile, we want to turn to Carlos Ghosn's great escape.
Let me explain. December 29, 2019. Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of Nissan, leaves a Tokyo apartment building at 2:30 in the afternoon. He walks quickly and carefully on his way to meet two men at a nearby hotel. Those two men included Michael Taylor and his son. Michael Taylor was a former US Special Forces soldier with the Green Berets, and Mr. Taylor and his son were hired by the Nissan CEO to help him on this trip. Shortly after arriving, the three men leave the hotel and board a bullet train headed to Osaka. They arrived just after 8 p.m. that night to a hotel near the Kansai International Airport. A few hours passed, and Michael Taylor and his son then left the hotel carrying several large boxes of musical equipment and headed to the airport. Hidden inside one of those boxes was the third man. The Nissan CEO was huddled up in a dark, cramped box, doing his best not to make a sound. At that time, there had been a lot of concerts in Japan, so two men making their way through the airport with large boxes of what appeared to be musical equipment didn't set off any red flags. They arrive at the airport and make their way through security. All their music equipment gets sent through the X-ray machine, except for that one specific box containing the third man. This box was carefully selected to be far too big to be sent through the X-ray machine, and since the two men had plenty of other music gear with them, another giant music box wasn't all that suspicious. So security let that giant box through without batting an eye. They get through security and make their way to a private jet. The luggage is loaded on, and once the plane took off, Carlos Ghosn was alerted that the coast was clear. The private jet eventually lands at Ataturk International Airport in Istanbul, Turkey, where the executive is escorted to another private jet. His destination? Beirut, Lebanon. There, the Nissan CEO got off his plane, used his Lebanese passport to get through customs, and heaved a sigh of relief. The CEO of Nissan had just successfully smuggled himself out of Japan with the help of a Green Beret and his son. Carlos Ghosn was one of the most respected businessmen on the planet. He helped save Michelin, Renault, and Nissan from becoming unprofitable disasters. And on the 29th of December 2019, he escaped up to 15 years in jail and getting fined up to $90 million in reparations. A multi-millionaire, bona fide celebrity, business wizard, and now a wanted fugitive. The question is, why?
Meanwhile, we want to turn to Carlos Ghosn's great escape.
The ousted chairman of Nissan has fled Japan.
How on earth did Carlos Ghosn make his escape without a passport and while he was under house arrest?
Carlos Ghosn's ability to lift almost any business out of bankruptcy made him a world-famous CEO, with dozens of companies interested in bringing him on board. His skills are what put him in such a high position of power. And if you develop your skills, hone in on your strengths, you too can skyrocket your career just like Carlos did. That's where Skillshare comes in, today's video sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for people just like you who are looking to take their abilities and career to the next level. It allows you to build up real profitable skills at a reasonable price. Like this class on the art of turning ideas into high-growth businesses. It's taught by Guy Kawasaki and has more than 28,000 students. Or this series on inclusive UX or user experience. It's taught by Regine Gilbert to get you started on the basics of a web design career right now. Skillshare is always launching new classes and there are never any annoying ads to interrupt your learning. So you're definitely going to be able to find a ton of classes that speak to you. The world today rewards competence. People who are great at their craft. And if you want to up your competence, sign up for Skillshare right now by clicking the link in the video description below. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to do so will get a 1-month free trial, so you can start discovering what Skillshare has to offer right now. Pause the video and click the link below to get started. Carlos Ghosn was the son of immigrant parents and grandparents. He was born in Brazil with Lebanese and French citizenship. After studying as an engineer, he started working at the Michelin tire company in 1978, and he did really well, like insanely well. Just 3 years after starting at Michelin, he was promoted to plant manager in France, and in 1985, at just 30 years old, he was appointed COO of Michelin South America, with the goal of making Michelin South America operations profitable again, a goal he achieved after just 2 years. This was because of his unique approach to managing multicultural teams. He famously said, quote, "You learn from diversity, but you're comforted by commonality," end quote. Ghosn did so well as the COO of Michelin South America that just 4 years later, he became the COO of Michelin North America, and a year later, he was promoted to CEO. In just 11 years, Carlos Ghosn had risen up to the top 1% of the automotive industry. After working at Michelin for another 7 years, Ghosn decided it was time for a new challenge. He had made a name for himself turning Michelin around, and now he was looking for the next failing company to save. Renault, a French car manufacturer, was on the edge of bankruptcy and desperately needed some new blood to get to profitability again. And the man they hired was none other than Carlos Ghosn. In 1996, he became the executive vice president of Renault. He restructured all of the company's purchasing and manufacturing processes and brought them back to profitability just 1 year later. He literally saved Renault, a giant corporation with a ton of moving pieces in just 1 year, something most businesses think is almost impossible. By now, Ghosn was seen as a business wizard. He brought 2 companies back into the black, earning him the nickname Lacoste Killer, and every company in the industry wanted his Midas touch. So in 1999, he decided to do it again. And the next target was a Japanese auto legend that was flopping, Nissan. In May 1999, Renault bought a 36.8% stake in Nissan in what would become the Renault-Nissan Alliance and Ghosn's ultimate test in managing multicultural teams. He was able to get Europeans, South Americans, and North Americans to play along together, but would he be able to do the same with Japanese culture? When Carlos joined, Nissan had $20 billion in interest-bearing debt, and only 3 of their 46 models were making any profit in Japan. It was an absolute disaster. Management was complicated, the company was producing too many models, and it seemed like Nissan was about to collapse. They needed some serious help, and Lacoste Killer was there to give it to them.
We gotta start cutting the crust off this shit sandwich!
While maintaining his position at Renault, Ghosn joined Nissan as the new COO, and in this new position, he vowed to do the impossible again. He would make Nissan profitable in just 1 year by the end of the year 2000, and he set to cut their debt in half by the year 2002. He called it the Nissan Revival Plan. And if he failed, he promised he would resign. It looked like a suicide mission. But by March 31st, 2002, he met his goals. But it came at a cost. He cut 21,000 jobs, shut down 5 manufacturing plants, and sold some of Nissan's most prized assets, like their aerospace unit. It was a bloodbath. And you don't do anything like that without making some enemies. Ghosn basically ignored every single Japanese business custom in the book by turning Nissan's corporate structure upside down. He took away unconditional lifetime employment, which was part of the culture there, and stopped giving away promotions based only on seniority, which was another custom in Japan. See, as a 100% Asian myself, I've seen both sides and can confirm that Asian culture tends to be a little less racially inclusive and much more prideful than, say, Western culture. See what I did there? I made sure you knew I was Asian first so you can't cancel me. Ask any other Asian and they'll probably confirm. So put yourself in the shoes of an executive at Nissan. You are a proud Japanese man at a proud Japanese car company with a lot of heritage. You have seniority, you don't have to worry about getting fired for the most part. Even though the company is in bad shape, things are going pretty well for you. You have status and command respect. Then comes in this Westerner with his arrogance and big attitude. He starts uprooting everything. Nissan is no longer a 100% Japanese company. All he cares about is profit. He fired 21,000 Japanese people, putting them on the street, and he's getting all the fame. This is all speculation, but I would predict a lot of resentment and envy started building up right about then. He was outshining the masters. And to add insult to injury, by June 2001, Ghosn was appointed the CEO of Nissan for his outstanding work. By 2002, Nissan was one of the most profitable car companies in the industry. Ghosn had taken them from a $6 billion loss to a $2.7 billion profit in a single year. But that wasn't enough. He wanted more success, more fame, and obviously more money. So in May 2002, he announced a new plan.
This year is going to be another record year for the industry.
He would increase Nissan's global sales by 1 million, achieve an operating margin of 8%, and completely eliminate all its debt, all by the end of September 2005, a 3-year time frame. Ghosn was in an all-out scramble to get to the top. He was going to be the best, and he would use Nissan to prove it. And Lacoste Killer strikes again. Not only did he reach his goal, but he did so well that Renault even increased their stake in the company to over 44%. By now, Carlos Ghosn was a superstar in the business world. His abilities got him awards like Fortune magazine's Asia's Businessman of the Year and Time magazine's list of global influentials. It was only natural that in 2005, Ghosn was named president and CEO of Renault too, making him the first person to ever run 2 Fortune 500 companies at the same time. It seemed like Ghosn could go nowhere but up, and for a few years that was the reality. But then 2008 hits, and it all starts going downhill, fast.
It was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets.
Traders here working the phone say a lot of their customers are freaked out, waiting to see how low the Dow will go. They're focused on the Dow, not so focused on OPEC.
2008 was a bad year for everyone, and Nissan was no exception. The car market dried up and people seemed reluctant to spend their money on any sort of investment. Ghosn's hard work was at stake, so he decided to push back harder with more drastic measures than ever. In 2009, he released the Nissan GT-R, hoping it would spark interest and sales in Nissan again. In 2010, Nissan debuted the company's first EV, the Nissan Leaf. But it seemed no matter what he tried, nothing could really get Nissan back to a spot as one of the most profitable car companies in the world. So he switched lanes and started gunning for more sales, offering massive bonuses to any car dealers who could meet the crazy sales goals he set. These bonuses were so big, car dealers would actually buy their own cars just to reach the goal and then sell the used cars they bought a few months later, driving up sales artificially. It was a desperate attempt to get Nissan back to the top, but it was all in vain. Carlos Ghosn's desperate attempts to keep Nissan from sinking didn't work. It was doing more harm than good. Profits were dropping and Nissan executives started panicking. Even though Nissan was losing money, Ghosn seemed to go on as usual, even buying a 34% stake in Mitsubishi. All the while, Nissan struggled to stay afloat. Le Cost Killer seemed to have lost his magical touch. And it didn't help that at the time, Ghosn was making $16.9 million a year and still wanted a bigger salary, even though he was being paid 11 times more than the CEO of Toyota. In his mind, he deserved it after all the hard work he had done for Nissan. And to be fair, he was still getting paid less than his American CEO counterparts, and he could easily leave Nissan for any other car company in America and be paid what he's worth. But the final straw was his plan to merge Renault and Nissan. As we mentioned, Japan is a traditional patriotic country. Nissan's board members had tolerated Ghosn's disregard for Japanese culture, his demands for a bigger salary, and his ruthlessness because he was making them money. But as profits fell, more and more animosity was building. His huge salary, his plans to merge Nissan and Renault, which would really make them not a Japanese company anymore.
I would collude with the French government to establish a merger, even though I was against it, and they decided just to get rid of me in a way which frankly is neither subtle nor very smart.
So they colluded on a plan to get rid of their Carlos Ghosn problem. This conspiracy to oust Carlos Ghosn would involve top-level Nissan executives, police officers, and some believe even the Japanese government. It would be the most hostile of hostile takeovers in history. November 2018, Carlos Ghosn receives a request to attend a meeting with Nissan board members in Tokyo. It was business as usual, so he got on a private jet and made the trip to the Tokyo International Airport. He got off the plane, went through customs, and then was arrested on the spot at 4:30 p.m. on November 19, 2018. He was charged with underreporting his salary between 2010 and 2014 and was taken to a detention center.
The world was led to know that I was arrested in the airplane. Bullshit. I was arrested in the airport. I came down from the airplane, I was taken in a car, I arrived to the passport, they told me there's a problem with my visa, they took me in a small room, and this is where I found Seki, prosecutor, telling me, I'm from the prosecutor office, I need to talk to you, and since then say, you cannot use anymore your phone, and I know I was arrested, and I understand what's going on. And because I was surprised, I told him, okay, can I at least give a phone call to Nissan to send a lawyer? Well, obviously I didn't know that Nissan was behind it, and it was all staged way before between the prosecutor and the company.
In a few hours, a world-renowned businessman became little more than a common criminal. Conveniently, just 3 days after his arrest, Nissan board members casted a vote to remove Ghosn as the chairman. 4 days later, Mitsubishi voted him out as well. The man that saved Nissan was stabbed in the back by the very people he saved. For Nissan, their enemy was out of the picture, but for Carlos Ghosn, the trouble was just starting. Ghosn was accused of underreporting his pay by $10 million a year, of using Nissan funds to buy property all over the world, and of secretly adding crazy amounts of money to his retirement fund every year. Instead of being let out on bail, he was kept in solitary confinement, not for being a violent criminal, but for being accused of white-collar crime.
So I was arrested for a compensation that was not fixed, that was not decided, and that was not paid. This is the reason of my arrest. This is the reason of my arrest. Well, I can tell you that in many countries, there is no reason to arrest. It's certainly not a criminal case. It's certainly not even an offense.
And new charges kept being added every week, so that in the end, Carlos Ghosn spent 108 days in solitary confinement being questioned daily without the chance of getting bail or even talking to a lawyer. More than 3 months in solitary confinement for a charge that most people would have gotten bail for within days.
130 days in prison, solitary confinement, tiny cell without window, light day and night. 30 minutes per day, excluding weekend, because obviously there is not enough guard in the weekend. You can't go for 30 minutes outside. When there is a holiday, there is nobody, so you stay in your cell, you just get your food. For example, 6 days without any human contact during the New Year break. Shower twice a week. Tried to ask to have more, they said no. Prescribed medication is forbidden. You can get only the medicine from the prison. Interrogated days and night. It can happen in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, up to 8 hours, obviously without the presence of a lawyer. All of this is taped. Impossible to take to anyone. No one speaks English or French or anything. When we need something important, we have to bring somebody, and this guy is available once a week. Presumption of guilt prevail. Prosecutor from the beginning, they let me to know you're guilty. Don't play games, confess. And everything they were asking me is not to try to discover the truth, is to try to find reason to make sure that their accusation will be stronger.
It turns out that one of the guys involved in keeping Ghosn's books was Hari Nanda. Hari Nanda decided to take a deal with the police and turned against Ghosn to avoid being charged alongside him. That's where the police got all their information. Nissan board members even tried to hack Ghosn's emails to get more dirt on him. All this meant that Carlos Ghosn spent 108 days in jail with no contact with his lawyers or family. Every time he tried to get bail, new charges were added, so he had to spend more time in jail. Finally, after 3 months of being in jail, Ghosn was released on bail on March 2019 for 1 billion yen or around $9 million. He was kept under 24-hour video surveillance and wasn't allowed any internet access, which became an issue when a month later, he tweeted that he was, quote, ready to tell the truth, end quote. A day later, he was arrested again on new charges. 5 days after his second arrest, shareholders voted to remove him from the Nissan board entirely. This time, his detention only lasted a couple weeks though. He was eventually released back to house arrest where he stayed for almost a year. He couldn't use the internet unless he was under supervision, he couldn't leave Japan, he was followed wherever he went, and he had almost no contact with his wife or family. In his eyes, it didn't look like he had any chance whatsoever of getting a fair trial.
In the Japanese judicial system, these allegations are untrue, and I should have never been arrested in the first place.
In December 2019, more than a year after his first arrest, Carlos Ghosn makes his daring escape from Japan in a box, all the way to Lebanon where he still is today. Quote, when you get in the box, you don't think about the past, you don't think about the future, you just think about the moment. You're not afraid, you don't have any emotion except a huge concentration on, this is your chance, you can't miss it. If you miss it, you're gonna pay with your life, with the life of a hostage in Japan. Even though Lebanon and Japan are in good terms, they don't share extradition treaties, so for the time being, Ghosn is safe with his family. But for the Nissan execs and the guy who helped them escape, their future isn't looking quite as bright. It turns out the new CEO of Nissan, a man named Hiroto Sakawa, was just as guilty as Ghosn himself. He eventually admitted to also secretly increasing his salary over the years, which started raising questions as to why the Nissan board members really wanted Ghosn out of the company. Was it really because they found out he was getting paid more than he disclosed? Or was it a mix of envy, greed at an opportune moment?
Well, old Nissan had always worked against me since 1999.
Whatever their reasons, there was a massive conflict of interest, since the same board members who collected evidence and conducted an internal investigation were also the guys lining their own pockets. Then comes another twist. Ravindir Pasi, who's Nissan's top lawyer, becomes a whistleblower. He revealed that the snitch, Hari Nanda, had told him about the arrest beforehand, and that there was an investigation against Ghosn for misconduct. While at the same time, Hari Nanda had been helping Ghosn hide his money ever since he joined Nissan, while taking some for himself too. For Nissan's top lawyer, things didn't add up. How could someone who was implicated in the investigation and accusations be part of the investigative team? So Ravindir Pasi leaked this information. Did it lead to the whistleblower being praised for potentially exposing a criminal conspiracy? No. It led to Mr. Passy being ordered to leave Japan in a matter of days in May 2020. His apartment was raided for evidence, while his wife and 4 daughters had to stand by and watch. They tried the exact same thing with Mr. Passy as they did with Carlos Ghosn. It's as if Nissan could potentially have some police under their payroll. Whether or not Nissan executives will be held accountable is yet to be determined. But all the information released by Carlos Ghosn and Ravindra Passy makes it seem like the case was never so black and white, and that there may be some merit in Ghosn's claims that patriotism and greed made them do it.
I had some suspicion on the justice system in Japan when I've seen so many scandals.
For now, Carlos Ghosn is safe in Beirut, where he's living with his wife and family and trying to build a case against Nissan that would be heard in any court outside of Japan. Japan has issued a red notice for his arrest through Interpol. Michael Taylor and his son Peter, who both helped Ghosn sneak out of Japan, weren't so lucky. On May 20th, 2020, Peter and his son were arrested in the US. A few months later, the US agreed to extradite them to Japan. And in July 2021, after pleading guilty to the charges, Michael was sentenced to 2 years in prison and his son got 20 months. There was no mention of the more than $800,000 both men were paid to get Ghosn out of Japan. After admitting to have received $440,000 from Nissan as a mistake, Hiroto Sakawa, the guy who led the investigations against Ghosn, resigned as CEO in 2019. He has not been charged for any crime. Hari Nada, the snitch, still works at Nissan as the senior vice president. His deal with the Japanese police seemed to have paid off really well. And Ravindra Passy, the lawyer turned whistleblower, he doesn't work for Nissan anymore either. He got fired soon after sharing information of the conspiracy against Ghosn. Since Ghosn's arrest, Nissan and Renault have lost almost $30 billion in market value. Even after Renault tried slashing jobs and cutting down production, 2 of Ghosn's signature moves, the company is still struggling. So is Carlos innocent? Was he just doing stuff you expect a CEO to do? Did you know Japan could be so corrupt? Because in the West, Japan is painted as this idyllic paradise. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What's up guys, I'm still in the middle of moving, so hence the blank background. It'll be like this for the next few videos, but we're still doing the iPhone 13 giveaway. All you have to do is be subscribed to this channel. You don't have to like resubscribe or anything if you're already subscribed, but yeah, subscribe and I will pick the winner in probably like the next 1 to 2 weeks. Yes, it will actually be a random subscriber that wins, not some rigged competition. And all you gotta do is subscribe, which you should if you're new here, because we make video essays, documentaries just like this one every single week on the most provocative stuff in the world of money, power, war, and crime. If you want more day in the life kind of stuff, you can follow me on Instagram at jaketran.io. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for being part of the Watch to the End Club. Stay dangerous out there, and I will see you guys in the next one.